Once upon a time, long ago, deep in the forest, lived a squirrel who had many friends. But it wasn't always so. When she was little, the squirrel's tail was a very cheeky thing. She could hardly wait to leave her nest, but had no idea what was waiting for her in the outside world. On her first day outside, the squirrel was playing with a grasshopper. They were competing in branch-to-branch hopping. Suddenly, the cheeky tail went squeak, squeak, squeak. This frightened the grasshopper so much that he missed the branch, fell to the ground, and hopped away in anger. The next day, the squirrel was playing with a snail. They were climbing up a tree when the tail went squeak, squeak, squeak. The snail quickly hid inside his shell and rolled all the way down to the ground and crawled away in anger. On the third day, the squirrel and a crow were competing to see who would be the first to reach a tree on the edge of the forest. But when the tail went squeak, 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 the crow crashed into a tree, banged her beak, and flew away in anger. The poor squirrel didn't know what to do. She was very sad because all her friends had left. Every time she jumped and every time she turned, the sound of squeak, squeak, squeak echoed through the forest. Feeling lonesome, the squirrel sat down on a stone and cried. Tears poured from her eyes all day long and all night, and the whole next day, too. A giant puddle appeared in front of the weeping squirrel. Then along came a frog. She asked the squirrel why she was crying, and the squirrel told the frog all about her cheeky tail. The frog suggested catching the tail while in the air. This would stop the tail from going squeak, squeak, squeak. Easier said than done. Practice makes perfect, they say. So the squirrel practiced jumping by turning and catching her tail before it could make a sound. A few days later, she succeeded. And the next day, and the day after that. Soon, the squirrel became a true master at catching her tail. The frog was watching all of this from a nearby pond. The squirrel's tears had dried up, and the puddle of tears was replaced by a bed of colorful flowers. Every day, the animals came to admire the colorful, fragrant meadow of flowers. And the squirrel learned an important lesson of making an effort for her friends, even when it's not the easiest thing to do. The forest was once again full of laughter, and the animals spent days on end playing in the colorful meadow of friendship. They thanked the squirrel for watering the dry soil with their tears. What about the tail? The tail was no longer cheeky, and slowly forgot all about its squeak, squeak, squeak. And the squirrel? She became the most popular and wisest animal in the entire forest. Her efforts had paid off, and that was something she could be really proud of.